And so there you go. Against the run of the whole game, Manchester United win 1-0, but they and Ruben Amorim will not care at all. That is a big 3 points for them against Fulham at Craven Cottage. So let's move on to talk about Manchester United and your thoughts on what we saw today, Jules.
I mean, I think for all the time that maybe they were a little bit unlucky, and maybe they didn't capitalize on what they were doing well in a game. It didn't happen very often, let's be honest. But maybe at times, then they got it all tonight, because really it was not a very good game to start with. And they just didn't do anything. And Stevie's right. The only shot on target is that deflected shot. The expected goals that we just saw on the graphic is 0.25. And somehow they won a Premier League game away from home against a team that has been good at home this season. That has been good in general. It's a decent first half, like top half of the table, more towards mid-table, but still it's a good Fulham team. So for United to go and get that win somehow, without really deserving it, but getting it, okay, good for Amorim. It's a great birthday present, because I think it's his birthday today or tomorrow. But let's not kid anybody here. This was not a good performance from them.
You know, the best thing I can say is that a certain station this game was on kept a basketball game on and didn't show the game until the 65th minute. If only I had stayed on that channel, because I actually found it somewhere else. This was awful. Fulham were the better team in the first half, but Fulham didn't look like scoring either. I mean, really. They had a couple of opportunities. We showed that header off the line. A minute after that, Munoz came on and should have scored from a ball that dropped down from a corner. I think it was a corner, and it dropped down to him about 5 yards out. Should have finished it and didn't. After that, there's not even any point in talking about this game. It was awful. Fulham, as Jill said, have been really good at home and away, but they were really poor as well. And Manchester United, I mean, you talk about not learning anything from a game. This is the perfect example.
Hey, a win's a win.
Oh, it's a win, aye, absolutely. But in terms of talking about the game, there's no point. It was just awful.
So should I go home then?
Honestly.
A little boost, LA, that things went their way, that maybe more things can go their way for the rest of the season?
I suppose that you can say something to build on. But even saying that, building on this foundation, I don't think is potentially the best thing for Manchester United. What I would say, today Amorim made the decision that Bruno Fernandes and Ugarte were going to play in the midfield, and it's a deeper role for Bruno Fernandes. I think this team loses a lot when he's not in a more advanced position. He is not naturally a defensive player. And while I guess needs must, and you have to find somebody who plays alongside Ugarte, in sacrificing Bruno Fernandes, you also sacrifice an outlet going forward. When this team, whenever they did win the ball, and they're looking forward, and they're looking for somebody to find that next pass, usually that's Bruno Fernandes who's either receiving that ball in a more advanced position or he's the one delivering the pass. But if he is so deep and so concerned about the defensive part of the game, there is no natural outlet for Manchester United. And so now you're depending on, hey, Garnacho, do something. Højlund, do something. There isn't a connection between the structure of the midfield of Manchester United and the attacking half or the attacking third of Manchester United. And so therefore, they become very limited, hence why they only had one shot on goal, and hence why the goal has to come from some sort of deflection. They'll take the win, but they need to continue to get better. And I don't know what better looks for Manchester United right now. That's the scary part.
How are they getting better?
Well, that's what I just said. That's what I just said.
Unless they turn around and start signing players, they are not changing at all. They've got nothing up front. And as Ali correctly said, if Bruno plays that deep, they've got zero going forward. Absolutely zero.
Jules, you're nodding along, but can they get better? Is there hope?
I mean, I guess there's always hope, yeah. But right now it's hard to see because, and Amorim said it himself the other day when he had this crazy press conference when he talked about them being the worst team ever in the club history. He said, like, I'm doing worse than the previous manager who we heavily criticized on this show, and rightly so, because he was not good. So Amorim knows it. Today wasn't good, okay, it's 3 points. Today wasn't good collectively, individually. Really, there's nothing. I mean, Højlund, I've rarely seen such a bad individual performance than we saw from Højlund today. There was just nothing from anyone in that team. So I don't really know what they're doing. I know they still play quite a lot every 3 days, not much time for training. But even that, it's a bit like the Postecoglou injury excuse. There's a point where I'm not buying anymore. They're like, oh, I need more time to work. You've been here long enough now for us to at least see a little bit of improvement. And we saw it at times in the big games, Liverpool, the end of the City game, against Arsenal with 10 men. Okay, we give you that. But overall, there's just, this team is not good enough, and he hasn't improved this team. He hasn't made it good enough either. What was maybe the best thing today that what Amorim said after the game was, we asked him about Rashford, and he said, well, I would rather put my third goalkeeper on the bench as a sub instead of somebody who doesn't give me everything every day. So we go back again to Rashford to understand a little bit more how Amorim is working out this dressing room. Rashford, clearly in his eyes, he's not doing enough at training every day, not giving everything. So he would rather have a third goalkeeper on the bench than another option offensively.
Hello, and welcome back to the channel Reds. Today, we're diving into some tough love as ESPN FC pundit Julian Lorenz has shared his thoughts on Manchester United's recent performance. And let's just say, it wasn't glowing. So, grab it, a brew and stick around, because we've got some serious discussions ahead. Over the weekend, Manchester United managed to scrape a 1-0 win against Fulham at Craven Cottage. Now, while 3 points are always welcome, Lawrence didn't hold back in saying that United's performance was far from convincing. A deflected shot, an XG of just 0.25, and one shot on target. That was the story of our attack. Not exactly a performance to write home about, was it? But hey, a win is a win, right? Or is it papering over some much deeper cracks? Before we get into the details, if you're enjoying our content and want to stay up to date with everything Manchester United, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us bring more content to Reds all around the world. Let's build this community together. Back to the game, Julian Lorenz wasn't impressed. In his analysis, he noted that United didn't deserve the win based on performance, and it was only Fulham's lackluster display that saved the day for us. He also highlighted an ongoing issue in the midfield setup. Bruno Fernandes, playing in a deeper role alongside Ugarte, has made the team suffer offensively. With Bruno pulled back to focus on defensive responsibilities, United lost their creative spark, leaving the attack looking disjointed and ineffective. Lawrence pointed out that without Bruno in an advanced position, there's a lack of connection between midfield and attack. As a result, the Reds ended up relying on isolated moments rather than a coherent game plan. It's a concern when your only goal comes from a deflection, isn't it? So how do we address this imbalance? Another key point from Lawrence's analysis was about the mentality in the squad. Ruben Amorim, after the match, made a bold statement, saying he'd rather have a third goalkeeper on the bench than a player who doesn't give 100% every day. This was clearly a jab at Marcus Rashford, whose commitment in training has been called into question. Are we seeing some cracks in the dressing room unity? Lawrence believes United are struggling to find a consistent style of play under Amorim. While there have been flashes of brilliance, like against Arsenal and Liverpool, overall, there's been little sign of progress, and with tough fixtures piling up, it's hard to see where improvements will come from without changes in personnel or tactics. So, Reds, where do we stand? Are we being too harsh? Or do you think this criticism is fair? What's your take on Bruno playing deeper, Rashford's attitude, and the team's overall direction? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget, we've got more content coming your way soon. So make sure you're subscribed for all the latest updates and fan debates. Until next time, keep the faith and keep supporting the Reds.